There we go. The draft is now happening. Goon Squad will have the first pick and first ban, and if we notice any pattern from the current meta, it is that we may see a Zeratul ban.
I'm waiting for it. I'm so ready.
Zeratul, of course, has a lot of utility. He can do some things that no other heroes can do. He's very, 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 very strong. So a lot of teams not wanting to play against him and therefore choosing to ban him. Goon Squad, of course, does have first pick and first ban, so they may try to get away with having him. They may ban someone else in the meantime. Who knows? We are waiting. They are running out of time. And in fact, they're dipping into their time pool already.
Yeah, on the first pick, the first ban, not even the first pick, very strange. This is Tomb of the Spider Queen that we're going to be playing on. Speaking of Zeratul, this is a very strong map for him. A small map with plenty of opportunities for ganks, those side lanes where the mercenary camps are. A great place for Zeratul if they wanted to try and make that pick.
Another notable hero that we will likely see on this battleground, and that has been on all sorts of battlegrounds throughout the weekend, is Zagara. She was, I want to say, almost 100, I think she was 100% picked or banned. And that was a surprise to me because I really like Zagara, and she is so useful in terms of not only damage and kind of siege, but also vision. She's really, really great for vision, and that's what she's wonderful for on this particular battleground. And look what's happening, KiyeBerries. We were completely wrong. There is no Zeratul ban.
Yeah, and a ban of Asmodan. We have seen Goon Squad play Asmodan comps, and Asmodan comps, when done correctly, can be very scary on a small map like this where you have a sieging mechanic like the Spider Queen. Asmodan could be very powerful, so I can understand that ban for sure.
Yeah, and I guess what Goon Squad kind of did there was force Relapse to determine whether they wanted to play against Goon Squad's Zeratul or Goon Squad's Asmodan. And apparently Relapse feels like they have more answers for a Zeratul than they do for the Asmodan that they have seen Goon Squad play. And they're going to allow Goon Squad to pick up Zeratul, which they will immediately do.
Yeah, there he is. To be expected, I would think.
Relapse is going to answer by picking up Jaina. She is not an unfamiliar face for these first picks. She can do a lot of burst damage, and she's going to be joined by Kael'thas, so the fire and ice combo of damage there.
The double wizard pick it either goes one way or the other. It's either a huge victory or a crushing defeat. There's no like, oh, that was a close game with that pick. It's one or the other.
Yeah, they can do so much together, but they are kind of glass cannons. So what we will see Relapse trying to do now is build a composition around them that can keep them alive, whether that means crowd control or healing. We're gonna have to see some strong warriors and supports out of Relapse.
Absolutely. With Zeratul as well, who can just delete Jaina out of the fight so quickly, they're going to need to protect her.
Yeah. Goon Squad's going to prioritize grabbing that healer. They did ban Uther, who is really great for keeping squishies alive, especially if you use his Divine Shield. But they're going to use Malfurion, which tells me that they want to put some other damage out there as well, because Malfurion has got a big AoE heal in that Tranquility, which is his heroic ability, so we want to be able to put a few people under it. They're going to grab Tassadar as well, and I think, as we mentioned with Zagara, Vision is a priority on this map, and Tassadar with his Oracle is going to be very useful for just that.
Yeah, absolutely. That also is protection for Zeratul. Tassadar, a direct counter pick to Zeratul. So adding him to their team while he is strong also protects them. Tassadar pairs very well with Malfurion. Malfurion's heals are heal over times. Adding a shield, especially in the early game, to give you some instant protection while the hot is ticking. Very smart.
Indeed it is, and we do see that now we're in the second ban phase. Muradin is going to be the pick for Relapse. They're identifying that Goon Squad has already picked up 2 supports and a damage dealer. They want to limit who's available to them as a tank. But that gives Goon Squad the opportunity now to grab Rhaegar, which means they've banned Uther, they've taken Malfurion, and they've banned Rhaegar. That does not leave a lot of great choices for healing.
No, not at all. They are pretty much pushed into the Lily or Brightwing choice. Brightwing not in the greatest of places right now. She's not really ever picked in the NA meta. I would guess they're going to pick Lily, which might not be what they had wanted in the beginning.
Yeah, I have to think that's a little bit of a misstep from Relapse because, like I said, when you prioritize having these 2 glass cannons right here, as your first couple picks. You really do need to keep them alive. And Lily, actually, according to that Sea of Steve data that I mentioned earlier that he provided us with, Lily this weekend had the lowest win rate. So she's kind of the band-aid healer right now, and she's not performing very well. She does have great heal, but you can't direct who you want that heal to go to. So a lot of times, if Kael'thas or Jaina is going to need those heals, it might accidentally go to Sylvanas or Johanna, who are not going to need it quite as much in terms of an engagement.
Absolutely, and with an ultimate similar to Malfurion's, but interruptible, also puts Lily at a disadvantage.
Right. Looks like Tyrael's going to be the pick for Goon Squad, and that is going to be their first warrior added to this composition. It is possible that we'll see a dual warrior, but if that is the case, that's going to be dual support, dual warrior, and that's going to be all up to Zeratul to do the damage. Now, matched up against Kael'thas and Jaina, and Johanna and Sylvanas, actually, who can do their own fair share of damage for their roles, that would be a little bit scary for me. What do you think of something like that if they were to do the dual warrior?
Tyrael in a dual warrior comp does do quite a bit of damage, and he controls those engages so well. Looks like we didn't get that, but with his judgment and his ability to dive in, Tyrael fits in a dual warrior comp in a very interesting way. He's almost not expected to be the main tank like you expect Johanna to be. He's there to do his damage, to displace, to engage.
Yeah, looking at these compositions, I mean, where do you think where is the weakness for Goon Squad that Relapse could exploit? Because we already talked about Lily kind of being the weak spot.
Yeah.
What do you think Relapse is going to have to do to kind of get under the skin of Goon Squad's composition?
Well, Zeratul being their strongest damage, and he's probably going to take Void Prison, which makes him very difficult to kill. If he's removed, though, either by trying to see if they have any sort of CC. No, they don't. I was going to say CC'd, but it looks like Relapse doesn't have any. Well, if they can straight out delete him with their high damage, or hope to just body him out with Johanna, Goon Squad is kind of at a loss for damage. They do have Tassadar, and they do have Falstad, who, Falstad, of course, does very good damage. Tassadar can hold his own. But without Zeratul, they probably can't make a kill. Zeratul is going to go in and make a kill for them. So if they can push Zeratul out of the team fight, that would put them in a decent scenario to push someone else, to blow someone else up, probably Falstad.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. We are going to have some really quality laners on both teams. Tassadar can do a lot in a lane by himself. Sylvanas, of course, we've seen how she can do that as well. But the thing with Tomb of the Spider Queen is that the battleground is so small, the lanes are so close together, that we probably won't see someone sticking to just one lane for the entire game, like we maybe saw from Stouffer's Mac and Cheese, having Sylvanas up there in the top lane, though we probably identified that that was a problem in terms of strategy for them. But we're going to see a lot of movement between lanes, and the vision that the heroes can provide in order to do that is going to be very important. So Tassadar having Oracle is a huge boon to that vision. What do you think Relapse is going to do to make sure that they have an understanding of what's going on the map?
They do not have the vision resources available to Goon Squad. Also, Goon Squad has Falstad, who can be anywhere on the map when you need him to be with his fly ability. Those kind of resources they do not have access to. They're actually going to have to go the opposite way. They can only hope to take vision wards and use that. They need to protect their two mages, so being too spread out to keep an eye on the map will kill off Falstad and Jaina far too quickly.
Yeah, let me tell you guys a little bit about this battleground in case you're just joining us in Heroes Land and are looking at this with a question mark above your head. This is Tomb of the Spider Queen. There are going to be 2 turn-in points at the center of the map. You can call it top and bottom, but they're so close together that it barely counts. You're going to try to turn in gems that you can collect all over the map. It costs 50 gems to initially engage the services of the web weavers who are going to push in all 3 lanes. And that price is going to go up throughout the game. So we're going to see teams, especially even early on, trying to make sure they gain real estate in their lanes to push their opponents back toward their own base in order to make sure that they control that middle area where the turn-ins are.
All right, so let's introduce our teams. Relapse on the red side, we have Grim Reaper SF on Johanna, Maxi on Lily, Insomnia, who I'm told I love, on Jaina. We have Nas on Sylvanas, and finally on Kael'thas is Hyun?
Hyun. Sure. All right, and we also have Goon Squad wearing blue. It's going to be Protoges on Tassadar, Hosty on Falstad, Goat playing Zeratul, Boss Floss on Tyrael, and Maitre. We still don't know how to say your name, but we love you. Mater on Malfurion.
We do love you. It's true.
We see the teams really being aggressive, like I mentioned here in lanes, especially coming from Goon Squad here in the mid lane. We see both Mater, I don't know. Mater, like from the movie Cars. Mater along with Tassadar are going to be pushing forward in that mid lane, but immediately going to leave it and go toward that top lane. And we see them moving back and forth very quickly. Like we mentioned, these lanes are very close together and enable that kind of play.
Yeah, you can easily clear out a minion wave and then jump down to the next lane and clear out another minion wave, back and forth, back and forth. It really lends to Asmodan's skill set to be able to gather those stacks doing that, but Asmodan is obviously not here. We're seeing a lot of roam out of Goat on Zeratul.
Right. Yeah, Goat, of course, on Zeratul can be cloaked, and so he actually has his own kind of, if you will, vision mechanic, in that he can kind of be a mobile vision ward and go around without being seen or detected or attacked in a lot of cases. He is going to be alongside Tassadar for a lot of this game so far. Both of them are going to be able to see so much that they will have no question marks about what's going on this map right now.
Well, in the bottom lane, we had Sylvanas, our lane pusher, is actually being pushed back. Hosty on Falstad doing a very good job of holding her back, and whenever he needs help, his teammates can rotate down very easily, and it looks like a small team fight happened here. But Relapse wanted nothing to do with it, or do they? They come back, more friends show up, Insomnia and Nos come in to help out their friend Johanna. Just poking, though. Just early game poking.
Yeah, we saw one of the really valuable things about Falstad in that we saw that Condemn go down on him where it looked like he might be lost as Johanna was looking to get that pick. But his barrel roll gives him more escapability than a lot of those damage dealers that we would typically see. So he's going to be able to barrel roll to safety and it's going to go back and grab health.
Oh, and there's I believe our first blood is going to be on the side of Relapse. Kael'thas going down.
The poor fire mage. He is going to go down, but not for long, as we are in early game. Takedown timers are quite low here, but that is going to give a tiny boost in experience to Goon Squad. They are leading a little bit that way.
Absolutely, yeah. We saw Tyrael using that strong engage and damage that we talked about him having to go in with Zeratul and make that kill very quickly.
And we now see 4 members of Relapse really hoping to get a pick here. Boss Floss did get very low, but he's going to use some of those little corridors to move around the wall and go back behind. Now we're going to see, again, it looks like Goon Squad trying to push out the lane. They're going to be successful. Relapse not willing to commit right there. We now have Falstad and Sylvanas still battling it out on the bottom. Falstad being able to eke out a little bit more real estate in that bottom lane just by a tiny bit. The importance of that, like we mentioned, is so that you can kind of claim area around the turn-in so that your team can prevent your opposing team from turning in, as well as so that when the web weavers do spawn, they spawn at that point in the lane. They go to wherever the lane is pushed to, so you're trying to make sure your lanes are well pushed.
Right, and keeping Sylvanas' push under control is very important for Falstad in the bottom.
We have now 10 gems turned in for Goon Squad, and those were the first few to be turned in at all. It looks like we're going to see a few more here in the top. They do have enough gems in their pockets that if they were to turn them all in, they could get some web weavers right now.
Absolutely. Do they want to do web weavers this early, though, or do they want to hold on to their spider gems and wait till they'll be a little more powerful later in the game?
Looks like for now they're content to hold on to them and just try to get their ownership of the map here. They really want to make sure that they're preventing their opponents from turning in as well. And so far they've managed to do that, except for 15 gems coming from Relapse. Relapse does not have enough gems in their pockets, which tells us that their lane push has not been quite as successful as Goon Squad.
No, definitely not. In the bottom lane here, they're pushed all the way back behind the wall. Hosty and Ghost are on towers now, pushing down outer towers.
Yeah, and if they can manage to take those down before they do get web weavers, that's going to be a huge boon to what they're able to get done once they do. In the meantime, Relapse knows that they are trying to get that push going in the bottom lane. They're going to chastise them hard and push them away.
But no kills for them. They're just pushing Goon Squad back out of the lane.
Yes, and that sound means that the blue web weavers will be released. That means Goon Squad has turned in enough gems that they are going to be able to get those web weavers spawning in the lanes. They've done a lot of damage to the wall here in the bottom. Looks like we have a lot of health on the top and mid lanes. So we will see where Goon Squad will prioritize. It looks like right now they're going to try to push in that weakened bottom lane alongside their web weavers.
Definitely. It's a 3-on-3 fight here, though. 2 of their members still up in their lanes getting experience. So they are not able to overpower Relapse, who is now, they're on the same level tier.
Right, we're going to see them employing kind of the strategy of making sure the pressure is unilateral. They're just kind of matching who is there for Relapse. So we won't see the top towers get too much damage. We will see a tower and a wall be taken down in mid. And in the bottom, still pretty healthy. One tower getting a little bit low. But now we're going to see the real skirmish go down here in the middle. We do see Tassadar fall as well as Zeratul. Now Lily.
Jaina
nope,
as well.
Just kidding. It was just Tassadar and Jaina and Lily. So much happening right there. Looks like Goon Squad is going to come out ahead. They're going to have some room to turn in more gems if they want. They have 39 of them in their pockets.
Absolutely. They are in a position of power right now. They could get level 10 before their opponents and get their heroic abilities online. That would give them a significant advantage to push a team fight and get a lot of kills.
Yeah, so far Relapse only has been able to turn in 15 gems, and I think this is kind of a function of what we were talking about earlier, that early aggression coming out of Goon Squad, and the fact that Relapse doesn't really have the strongest healing, so their engages, they have to be really, really careful where they do it. And so far that care has turned into a timidity that is keeping them from getting close enough to the turn-ins as they would like to be.
Right, here in the middle we even have two heroes, Johanna and Insomnia on Jaina, unable to push just Tassadar out of the lane.
Wow. That is a tribute to how well Tassadar can do in lane, even by himself.
Yeah, absolutely. So bottom lane, we lose one tower. We're almost done on that second one. There are still giants pushing. They're going to commit 2 members of Relapse to clearing out the bottom lane.
They're also going to grab their bruisers, but it looks like the Void Prison does go down on the bruisers and on Insomnia and Maxi, while the rest of Goon Squad line up. The Hinterland Blast goes down. Insomnia does get very low and is going to fall almost immediately. Maxi is on the run. Looks like those bruisers will not be much of a problem as we see Goon Squad going right for this fort. They are going to manage to take that down fairly easily. Maxi, just by her little panda self, is not going to be able to threaten all 5 members of Goon Squad.
All right, let's take a look at the heroic abilities they picked up, because during that they actually hit level 10 and 11 and we missed it. All right, so we have Archon for Tassadar, of course the Hinterland Blast for Falstad, Void Prison for Zeratul, Judgment for Tyrael, and Tranquility for Malfurion.
You mentioned how much Judgment can do in terms of deciding when to engage, and from the way that we've seen Goon Squad playing so far, it is going to be likely that they're going to be looking for those aggressive engages, even at this point where they still have 4 heroes here in the mid lane.
All right, now we have level 10 for Relapse. Let's see what they've picked. Water Elemental for Jaina, Phoenix for Kael'thas, Blessed Shield for Johanna, Wailing Arrow for Sylvanas, and Jug of 1,000 Cups for Lily.
We see the Webweaver spawning. The one here in the mid lane is going to move forward quite well. All 5 members of Relapse were there, but they're going to have to rotate to the top as they see Tassadar accompanying that Webweaver. Looks like Goon Squad kind of not exactly positive where they want to push, but they are going to spread out this time. As all 5 members of Relapse are only defending in the top, they're moving together to defend. In the meantime, Goon Squad is pushing on all fronts.
Yeah, they're doing kind of what we had mentioned during the draft. They can't let their team spread out. Relapse spreading out Kael'thas and Jaina away from their tank and healer would leave them very vulnerable. They're such squishy heroes. They have to stay together as a team.
This bottom fort goes down, and Goon Squad backs up just as Relapse comes to contest. They are going to look for an engage. The Condemn goes down, but so does Water Elemental. The Void Prism is down. It's going to take quite a few people with it. The Phoenix combined with the Hinterland Blast melts quite a bit of damage.
Lily in the backline got a full value Jug of 1,000 Cups. A lot of healing there.
Yeah, they stayed pretty healthy, but the Hinterland Blast is going to demolish.
But not anymore, not anymore.
Yeah.
And over, down we go.
Nos and Maxi try to get away, but that Falstad mobility comes into play. Nos, is he going to make it? Oh, does.
One teacup alive there.
Oh my goodness. Thank you to Lily for that rejuvenating glass of tea.
All right, so all members of Relapse have respawned. We're still early enough in the game where their downtimers are not significant.
Yeah, we are going to see quite a bit of damage done this early on in the game, though. We're only at about 10 minutes, and as you can see, this bottom fort is now completely gone. We also see here in the mid lane fort missing as well. The top fort is still surviving, but the wall is gone.
Right, and we have Goon Squad in the bottom picking up some more mercenaries, while it looks like all of Relapse answered to Zeratul's. He wasn't really doing anything in the top, but he did get them all to go up there, left the bottom lane free for Goon Squad to pick up those mercenaries.
You can see how much respect they have for Zeratul, certainly. They are trying to get their first turn in. They have only 15 gems for the entire game turned in, but Goon Squad is going to bully them away from that pretty easily. They're not willing to engage right now. They have level 11, while Goon Squad has well surpassed their next tier of talents.
All right, and what level 13 talents, since those are quite significant, did Goon Squad pick?
Looks like we have Prescience coming out for Tassadar, Crippling Hammer for Falstad. They're also going to have Wormhole for Zeratul, Burning Rage on Tyrael, and Ice Block for Malfurion. It's going to try to keep him alive by putting himself in stasis.
Very good pick for Malfurion. Of course, he can drop his Tranquility and then pop into the Ice Cube, not be damaged, but continue healing. Something very unique to Malfurion there.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes him so valuable in terms of that AoE heal over someone like Lily, because like you said, her Jug of 1,000 Cups is not quite as sturdy.
No, not at all. Void Prison goes down on top of the mercenary camp. Looks like
Lily is going to fall while she was trying to feed those 1,000 cups to her teammates. And without their delicious brew, it looks like her teammates are going to fall back, leaving the bruisers to be grabbed by Goon Squad.
Absolutely. This puts Goon Squad up almost 3 full levels here, 15 to 12, and a lot of change. Ton of mercenaries in the middle. Of course, Sylvanas is going to be able to make short work of clearing them out, but we have all of Goon Squad, or excuse me, all of Relapse committed to clearing out this middle lane. That leaves Goon Squad clear to go for the boss in the top lane. I wonder if Relapse actually knows.
Looks like they do. They are coming to contest, but they've just reached level 13. This is the time to engage if they are going to, because Goon Squad is very close to level 16, which would put a big rift between them. Phoenix goes down. It is going to take out Tyrael. The Hinterland Blast immediately follows up by Sylvanas being taken down. Condemn pulls the rest of Goon Squad together with Johanna, but they're interested in following the rest of the team. A root goes down on Maxi, but he's going to be able to run away with those fast little panda feet, but in the meantime, Kael'thas is left behind.
Kael'thas not quite as fast as Lily. Unfortunately, he could not keep up.
Insomnia is pretty far back and also will go down. It's one of those glass cannons. Lily was trying to heal her up, but not able to do quite enough. In the meantime, Johanna was nowhere to be found. That tank not protecting poor little icy mage woman.
Not at all. So Goon Squad goes ahead, takes that outer fort, and now they've moved back up to the boss that they had recently abandoned in favor of some kills, and they're going to go ahead and probably take that uncontested. Sylvanas looks like she's going up to sniff around, see what's happening. I don't know if it would be wise right now for Relapse to engage.
Looks like Johanna, Grim Reaper SF, was down here grabbing a turn-in while they knew the rest of Goon Squad was busy. It's a good choice for them in terms of trying to find an advantage they can actually take, as they now see level 16 from Goon Squad. But will Web Weavers do much for them right now? Not a whole lot, except for maybe get a little bit of a breathing room for them in the lanes.
Yeah, hopefully just push out of their base a little bit. They're down to inner keeps in all 3 lanes. So it would be nice for them to push back. We saw how far back the Web Weavers actually spawned.
Yeah. The Web Weavers in the bottom lane and top lane are... Nope, the top lane is gone already. Only the bottom Web Weaver remains. It's going to be easy work for Boss Floss, Hosty, and Mater down here.
Yeah, however, that boss that was picked up at Goon Squad pushed all the way through one of those inner towers and the wall, so that is open to be assaulted at any point.
Like Hosty is sniffing around the siege camp in the bottom. Those siege giants are going to go the way of Goon Squad unless there is any contest from Relapse. I don't think there will be, as they are desperately trying to defend each of their lanes here in their base. And they're kind of getting that trap feeling you mentioned. There's not a whole lot of places they can go if they don't want to leave their base exposed.
Right. If they go into, say, the top lane to push, they're pretty well exposed on the bottom lane here. Only one tower barely left standing and the door open. It's a difficult choice for them to decide, do they want to defend or push? And here we are actually moving into the bottom lane from both teams. I guess they noticed.
Yeah, they did, and we have blue Web Weaver spawning for the Goon Squad yet again, and this time we're going to see them grouping up to push with one Web Weaver down here in the bottom. They're not even waiting for it to catch up. They're going to look to engage right now. Phoenix goes down. Looks like Kael'thas will die shortly after, though, and Jaina is also out of the mix. Maxi having to run away on fast panda feet, not going to be able to be there to heal Grim Reaper. Luckily, Grim Reaper can take quite a few hits and escape herself.
All right, down goes this inner fort. We still have all 3 Web Weavers alive and pushing in on the inner towers in top and middle. And of course, in this bottom lane, we're going to head right up for the corner.
There are no heroic abilities up. Phoenix will be up soon. That one comes and goes quite quickly. But in the meantime, it looks like Goon Squad is happy to just do some more structural damage while they wait for their timers to go down.
Right, they may feel like this is not a good time to actually engage the core, so instead taking down those inner keeps will secure them catapults spawning in those lanes, which have a tendency to sneakily win the game for you.
Winions, as our friend Gillyweed loves to call them. Winions are going to be spawning in the bottom and middle lanes, and it looks like Goon Squad would like to have them in the top as well. They will get their wish.
Yes, they will. So we are now completely exposed to core in all 3 lanes, unfortunately for Relapse. This is beyond a claustrophobic field. They don't really have a base left to defend at this point.
Looks like Relapse does manage to get the kill on Falstad. They're looking for one on Tassadar as well. They know that they need to engage right now before that level 20 comes out for Goon Squad. They're trying very hard to grab that Tassadar, and they are going to be able to. This gives them just a moment to get something done on this battleground. They do have some gems to their name. Only 3 needed before they have enough for a complete web weaver turn-in, but instead they're going to opt to try to grab some structures, which is going to give them the experience they so desperately need.
Yeah, they do definitely need to take down something to try to catch up in XP. Hopefully even one of their team members, since they're all carrying gems, can sneak out and make that turn-in. I don't know.
They really did need to grab that experience. They also really could use the web weavers, but they're not willing to put themselves in jeopardy in order to do it. It looks like instead they're going to fan out. They're going to look to grab their bruisers here. They're also going to push out lanes, or at least that's what I thought Jaina was being sent to do. She's just kind of running back into the base instead.
Level 20 achieved by Goon Squad. Let's see what abilities they pick. Storm Shield for Malfurion, Hardened Shield for Tyrael, Rewind, of course, for Zeratul, Call of the Wild Hammer for Falstad, and Tassadar can't quite make up his mind.
Yeah, I guess he's going to wait and see what he feels like when the moment arrives. But we do have level 17 for Relapse. They're coming up on level 18, so they're actually closing the gap just a little bit with that last little foray onto the map. They have to be really careful how they engage now, as those level 20 talents are so devastating.
And it looks like Tassadar went with Twilight Archon, opting to do some more damage there.
That shows a lot of confidence. They're willing to just put everything they have into that damage, as they feel like they're hopefully soon going to be able to end the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did, of course, take the extra shield which with Malfurion, which pairs very well with his Tranquility. Tyrael took his personal shield, so they probably have plenty of defensive abilities going, where Tassadar can afford to do the significant extra damage with Twilight Archon.
Right. We see Relapse just moving between the lanes inside their base. Their core is completely exposed now. They do have minions helping them defend, but there are so many catapults that want to take their core down.
And now we also have Web Weavers spawning again for Goon Squad, and they are going to be right up in Relapse's business here.
Yeah, Goon Squad fell back and actually grabbed those Siege Giants as well. They have painted the map completely blue, and Web Weavers are coming. They're willing to engage because they do have that level 20 while their opponents are only 18. We see Grim Reaper out there in front trying to make sure that her team is protected, but she's going to be pretty far from anyone who needs her help. That Void Prison is going to hold Kael'thas in place. He desperately tries to put down the Phoenix, but does not manage to get out of the way fast enough. The Jug of 1,000 Cups doing a great job of keeping Relapse healthy as they do try to follow her around, but it does finally end. And now they are exposed. The core is going to help protect them. The root from Malfurion goes down, but doesn't manage to grab anyone except for Johanna. They are going to have to look to take down those Web Weavers in the middle of this team fight.
There are more Web Weavers coming in the top lane as well. We are not done with the Spouters yet. They are incoming. There are also Giants here as well. Sylvanas, of course, trying to keep all of the minions shut off. Her ability to make them stop attacking coming in very handy because there are so very many of them. Here are more.
Oh, there's so many bugs taking bites out of their core, and I just don't think there's anything Relapse can do at this point to take the game back from Goon Squad. It will be a Goon Squad victory.
Absolutely. Congratulations to them, and good try by Relapse.
Yeah, Goon Squad, a very strong team, like we mentioned, someone who is seeded highly, did really, really well in the NA Open, so showing the class from that team, the understanding of this battleground and where the advantages need to be taken. Well played from them, and I think, like we mentioned, Relapse perhaps held a little bit back from the Lily, as she did manage to keep her team very healthy for a moment, but once that Jug of 1,000 Cups was finally gone, you saw them slowly melt.
Yep, she could not keep the sustained heals going, which, unfortunately for Lily, is what she's kind of known for. She might not be able to control where her heals go, but she can throw them out fairly quickly, but not quickly enough. There was just so much damage and synergy as well coming out of Goon Squad. We saw a couple times where we had great Void Prisons by Zeratul, followed by Roots, followed by Judgment. They were just on point with making sure they could delete out those mages very quickly.
Right, and Goon Squad, as a result, is going to move forward in the tournament. This is best of ones at this phase of the tournament. I think we have one more round to show you before we do come up against the semifinals, which we'll broadcast on Wednesday.
Correct.
So we will get that match going for you here pretty soon, right, Kai?
Absolutely, yeah. They don't have it ready